Hello, everybody. My name is James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And this week, we're looking forward to a big clash in the Northwest in Game Week 13. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Manchester United correspondent. It's Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, mate. Like Manchester at the moment. And our Everton correspondent, Sean Norton's here. How are you, Sean?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. How are you?
Nobody does sarcasm better than you, my friend. We'll talk the toffees, but first, Gary, because Sean doesn't want to say much anyway. Ruben Amorim. I wanted to ask you in the first instance, how do you feel about him? Just forget the football and stuff. How have you found him coming across in terms of interviews and stuff?
Yeah, I think he comes across well. Thought he dealt with that situation of the week when the Sky guy was asking him to stop speaking Portuguese in Portugal about a Portuguese team. Thought he dealt with that quite well with a bit of enough humour and without coming across like an idiot. So yeah, he's spoken well in the few interviews we've seen of him so far, and yeah, seems like he might be a bit more charisma maybe than some of the other managers I've had in the last few years, which can work both ways. But in the first instance, yeah, seems all right.
What do you mean by work both ways? Because
Well,
we,
it
we we've
can,
always said you need a big personality to manage Manchester
yeah.
United.
There's it's a fine line though, isn't it? Being charismatic, and I think we've seen that with a Conte or a Klopp or a Mourinho or a Guardiola that um, it can bring success for your club. So hopefully that's it. But equally, it can very easily rub people up the wrong way, including your own players if you can't get them to buy in on it. So hopefully it's a good sign that he's got that charisma, and hopefully it's a sign that he's got the personality to take the job on, which it looks like he will have. But yeah, we've seen we've probably said that about maybe a Conte or a Mourinho, and look how quickly their jobs have turned sour in the last few years. So yeah, but hopefully he's not that kind of guy. Hopefully it's the positive side of it.
And first thoughts on Sunday Ipswich?
Yeah, it's hard to have any real thoughts on it because he's not had the players for long enough, and off the back of an international break, and I don't think that's what the players can play 3-4-3 really. I think he's going to need to buy some. He's going to need to buy a couple to get that off the ground really. So I mean, yesterday wasn't great at all, but that's not Amorim's fault. That's just more of a sign of too new and international break. And Ipswich at home on the telly was always going to be always liable to be a game where it got on top of them a bit. So yeah, difficult to judge anything off yesterday, but um, yeah, because it wasn't great at all yesterday.
You won't have heard this yet because we were pre-recording on Monday afternoon, but I said on our game review pod there was probably only two players who started on Sunday you could be confident would still be in the team in a month, and that's the goalkeeper and Bruno Fernandes. Have I read that wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think all the rest of them, maybe Dyche. You don't know if we'd have enough centre backs to drop Dyche. But no, I don't think that's an unfair assessment at all because that that group of players I don't think can play 3-4-3. So yeah, and I don't think Rashford can play through the middle up front either.
But
So yeah,
they're going to have to, aren't they? Because clearly this is what he's going to do.
we're going to have to, but we might be in for a rocky few months if that's the case because unless those wing backs can turn themselves into something that we've never seen from them before. Um, Not that they've never played there before, but they've never played there with any real consistency or that great ability on the ball and going forward. Unless that changes, and unless one of the centre forwards, hits the ground running, or Rashford turns himself into a centre forward, then there's going to be too many important parts of that team that won't work in this formation as it stands.
Are you okay with that? A rocky couple of months, or does
Well,
the results need to improve fast?
we you can't you pick a manager like Amarin because you know that it's going to be rocky and that you take a step back to go forward. If you want one to get results to improve fast, we've been down that path. We tried to get we've had Mourinho there and and all those type of managers. You've got to pick your poison, and we weren't going to get we weren't going to turn into a winning machine by going for Amorim, bringing in this 3-4-3 style and trying to completely overhaul everything. So yeah, it is what it is now. It's, you know, if we can start winning quickly, that'll be great. But I think that'll be a bonus at the minute because they're just not used to it. And you know they're going to have to do the basics better than all the rest of it. I mean, seeing a stat on going around that we ran 102k yesterday, which is the second lowest of any match this season. So it's not even brought that usual thing of new manager bouncing. Oh, they're running for the manager and all that stuff. That's not a thing either. So yeah, I think it will be a rocky few months, and I don't think it'll matter who we play. I think we're liable to have more matches like yesterday where we draw against unfancied teams, and then we might go to Arsenal and win, but then lose to something like 15th in the league. And Everton, yeah, but I know
Sean just shook his head massively for those on the audio.
I think you could see that kind of thing because as you're trying to build this new style and formation, there's going to be days where it's absolutely terrible, and there's going to be days where it clicks. So, patience is going to be the key now because I think everyone's going to have to get on board with that because we weren't going to start. The idea that the players had packed it in under Ten Hag was unfair. I think it's just a bang average group of players and quite an average manager. But I don't think any of those players had stopped playing for Ten Hag. So I don't think there's going to be that manager bounce where they suddenly decide. It's not like when Solskjaer took over from Mourinho and all the players went, well, we all thought Mourinho was a bit of a prick and Solskjaer's in and all the vibes and we'll start winning. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more about the tactics and what we can tweak and manipulate, and like I say, what we can buy in January, if anything. Because I'd be shocked if we can play with wing backs with this current squad.
Just on Ten Hag to close, could you see him working in the Premier League again?
Probably. Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know where off the top of my head, but I think at a club where there was less pressure on him to restore the former glories to a title winning side, and where he maybe where being pragmatic was a bit more acceptable, as it were, then I think he could do a good job somewhere. I don't know where off the top of my head, but I think he just got bogged down at United, where he was brought in to bring in this sort of Dutch Ajax style of play, and like we've discussed before, I think he lost his nerve. He lost his first 2 matches, and I think he lost his nerve trying to do that, and just bumbled his way through with quite a pragmatic style in the end. And you're not going to win titles in this day and age with that kind of style, but I think you can still finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and win cups with it. And I don't know a name off the top of my head. I don't know if Sean
thinking
Everton.
I was thinking Everton. Sean.
Yeah, but I don't see why not.
Erik Ten Hag's available. How would you feel if I told you tomorrow Erik Ten Hag's taking over at Everton?
I don't know. I think I'd quite have you.
You're muted, Sean.
I'm muted.
Yeah, it's right. Carry on. We can hear you again now.
Can you? Yeah, I think I'd have you all Gary at Everton tomorrow. So
okay. Are you? I can see this from your tweets and stuff. Anyway, are you at that point with Sean Dyche got to go?
Well, I don't think it so much matters about obviously it doesn't matter what I think, but I think it's just inevitable that he's going to go. I mean, the results are underwhelming still, and the takeover is going to go through soon. And these guys who are going to take over have got no patience at all, have they? So I think the feeling is that the takeover will go through in a couple of weeks' time, and then he'll get bombed out.
When do we expect the takeover to go through?
It like any day. Well, middle of December was the talk, and everything's on track. So it could happen any day within the next 2 weeks.
And you think they'll just come in and just make the change straight away?
Yeah, because I just think we've won 2 games all season. I can't see any wins coming anytime soon, and I think I think they'll just sack him.
Depends though, isn't it? Like where you sit out on this with Everton because he's one defeat in 8.
I know, but that's what see, that's what he comes out with. That's the sort of stuff that he'll point out, and the players that'll point out. But you know, you could go unbeaten all season, couldn't you? And you might still get relegated.
Nah, 38 points keep you up now, mate.
I'm not so
No
sure it
danger.
will. I'm
Yeah,
not so
yeah,
sure it will.
yeah.
I,
Well,
I, I don't know.
you'll be in trouble if it needs more, maybe.
Well, exactly. But I think it'll be tight because the top teams. I mean, the team who's top might win it a counter season, but I mean, those under that look like they're going to get a lot less points, and those points have got to go somewhere, then, haven't they?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they're going to say the bottom 5 or bottom 6 necessarily. It might be it's more for a Champions League place or Conference League place or anything like that, right? Doesn't mean that the clubs at the bottom are necessarily going to pick up those points. It's a
No,
fair
but
argument, though, isn't it, Sean? If I said to you at any point, like in pre-season, you'll go one defeat in 8, you'd take it, wouldn't you? I get it, right? It's 2 wins to give the flip of that. You haven't scored in the last 3 against West Ham, Southampton, and Brentford. Like it's just that alone is pretty grim reading. But you're ticking over at more than a point a game, mate.
well, yeah. I mean, we're not quite, are we? And like, saw something earlier today for like because obviously the promoted team didn't play last season. So for all the Premier League teams that have played the games in the calendar year, Everton are averaging 0.8 points a game.
Yeah, it's 7 wins in a year or so, isn't it?
And this is the concern, and this is why I think his time's just going to run out because the fixtures, you know, are horrendous. When we're not going to trouble. I don't even think we'll trouble Man United, let alone Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool.
You are quite right. You're obviously under a point a game, mate. 11 from 12 played. What I meant is over this 8 game,
Yeah, yeah.
you're obviously ticking over more than a point a game at the moment. You mentioned the fixtures, Sean. Cover your ears. Manchester United away, Wolves at home, Liverpool at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, Manchester City away, Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Aston Villa at home, Tottenham at home, Brighton away takes you up to game week 23. Play Leicester at home in game week 24. Nico really needs to clip Gary's silent laughing at how bad that fixture run is. I guess there's that to the caveat to the recent results, right? You haven't really played anyone over that period.
Exactly. So everyone was aware that we needed to basically be well above the point of game. We needed to be massively ahead, and if we were anywhere around it, then it's like panic time, and that's where we are.
Do you think, irrespective of what happens in the next couple of weeks, once the owners get the football club, they'll probably sack Sean Dyche?
Yeah.
There's danger in that as well, though, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
That someone else comes in and tries to play a brand of football that the players, kind of a little bit like what Gary's saying, the players might not be capable of doing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are a severely limited bunch of players, and I think part of the worry is that there seems to be a lot of fans that you know naively for this group of players, could comfortably be mid-table. I see it on lots of Everton fan channels, various presenters saying, we should be comfortably mid-table. But I think that like shows like a big lack of appreciation for how much better those teams are and how much better the players are in the squad. I think we should be doing better than we are. But like it's 4, 5, 6 points. At most, we shouldn't have threw the game away against Bournemouth. Should have got something against Southampton. Should have beat Brentford. But there's no planet. There's no manager on the planet that's going to come in and suddenly get Everton winning 3, 4, 5 games on the run. It's just the players aren't at that level.
So that's
nowhere
why
near.
that's where the argument comes in against, say, sacking someone like Sean Dyche. And I realise what you're saying is probably might even be out of anyone's hands anyway. But I know there's a lot of Everton fans, probably including yourself, would change. Yeah, I think most of us on the outside would still look at it and think your best chance of staying up is to keep someone like that.
I think it's one of those situations, isn't it, where when you're on the, like the Gary O'Neill thing at Bournemouth, a lot of people were surprised when Bournemouth got rid of Gary O'Neill and thought, well, to get rid of a good manager there. But to those on the inside, they obviously done it for different reasons, and they had an idea and a plan of what they wanted to do, and they bring in a better manager. Now, you live in hope that someone in these new owners, I've got a better idea of what we could potentially do in January, and who's in a better position to get that bit more out of this squad. Because as much as Dyche is, he's very good at getting you organised, and the defensive numbers are really, really strong. Obviously, at the start of the season, we were a mess. We couldn't defend a cross into the box. So that's the main change, that we're more like a Sean Dyche defensive setup. But I think everyone's just fed up of the guy, because fans of other clubs aren't going to listen to every Everton press conference, but obviously we do, and he's just downplays the football club all the time, as if we should all be like dead grateful
Happy.
to him. That, yeah, like grateful to him for being there, and it's like nothing's his fault. Like he can't do anything about the situation. And I think people just think, well, do you know what, mate? Well, piss off then. We'll have somebody who actually thinks, no, I can do something. I can do something
Yeah.
with this team.
I think he's become a master at managing expectations, hasn't he, Dyche? So that everyone thinks similar to what you've just said, James. And I don't know what you mean, but people say, "Oh well, if Everton can get themselves to 40 points, what season they've had?" And it's like that's fine once when you were in the fire a few years ago when like the Lampard season. You can't if you do that every year. If you just aim for 40 points every year, at some point you'll only get 35, and that'll be yeah. It's got to be worth it. It's got to be a gamble worth taking to get rid of him. There's got to be someone out there who could play better football and try and get something out of it. Because 11 points from 12, what are you losing out on anyway?
Yeah.
So
That run rate will
yeah,
probably be enough, though. It's going to take you to sort of 35, 36.
I know, but James, then what are you doing
No,
next season? Oh,
I
let's take
get,
another
no, no, no.
36 points at some
I get
point.
that. And it's definitely not what Everton want, right? As a football club, I
No,
know that. Sean knows the comment I made a few years ago, right? 5 years of pain. What are we in year four, Sean?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
At the moment, because of the financial resources of the football club, and it may be beginning to change now with obviously the change of ownership coming in, which will begin to improve the football club. Plus, they're moving into the new stadium, obviously, next season. There is a future for Everton. At the moment, it's just survival. And I think it's been that way for a few years and was always likely to be. The grass is going to be greener in a couple of years for you. I agree. But at the moment, I don't know what the realistic expectation is for someone else to come in and do much better with that group of players.
But that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because like he said the other day about, like, not scoring goals, and then he says, other clubs solve it with a checkbook. And it's like, we all know we haven't got loads of money, but him and Felwell are signing players. It's not like Everton have not brought any new players into the club. So him and Felwell have still got the entire world to go and find players, and it's a pretty low bar that you're trying to get above. You know what I mean? Bringing someone in that's better than what we already had. Yet they still bring in players that are at best the same as what we've had. And it's like, come on, mate. You should be able, it's your job, you're a manager. You should be able to coach improvement into this team. The longer a manager's at a club, the better things should get. Like aspects of the game, of course, injuries can go against you, players can lose a bit of form. There are things that can happen outside of your control, like obviously the points deduction scenario. But there's no evidence that the guy does any work on the training ground to improve any of our attacking deficiencies.
No, fair. I guess it's difficult to foresee what you think the end of this season is in terms of your expectation of where will Everton be next season.
I've said it to you, like you mentioned there about like this is the fourth year of paying, and my views never changed. I knew we'd wasted the money. I knew we were headed for trouble financially, and I knew that we were going to flirt with relegation like massively on a regular basis. And you can't keep circling the drain. Eventually, you go, and it's evidenced in the average points, the goals, the 5 years on the trot. We only score about like just over 40 goals a season. There's the finances. Teams in the Premier League don't really spend any money, eventually get relegated. And it's like everyone's geared up to this. Let's just get to the new stadium and then the finances will improve and then we can go forward again. But this may well be the year that we go down. And it's a perfect storm because you can easily put a narrative together where we do get relegated because we might keep Sean Dyche because we don't think there's anyone else that we can get. We drop under that 1 point per game average. We don't do much business in January because we're skinned. And the whole thing catches up with us. Most of that squad, or a large number of that squad, is out of contract. The manager's out of contract in the summer. The director of football's out of contract in the summer. Lots of the starting 11 are out of contract in the summer. And so I don't that run of games that you mentioned, there's every chance that maybe we win one, maybe we beat Wolves or Forest. I'd question that, but maybe we get a win. And if we don't win any of the others, it coming out of that run, it could be extremely bleak in a situation. Then everyone's looking at going, bloody hell, they're not getting out of this.
I mean, over those next 11 games, if you could take 1 point per game over that, you probably would take it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You get 3 wins, 2 draws or so out of that next 11. I probably would settle for it. It's probably as bad a run as anyone's got. Also, I know Wolves' start was very well documented. This run coming up is horrendous, man. I mean, even
Correct.
Wolves is the green fixture in there. They've just found form as well, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, look at it. Look at Ipswich. You just slapped Man City and Ipswich beat you, and then you've got a point against Manchester United. So they've got 4 out of 6. They start picking up points. That's why I think sort of the fans that are thinking that you only have to get to 35, 36 points. I'm not convinced. I think it might be a bit more this year.
Gary, you think they'll stay up this year?
I think probably because I think, as we've seen for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in a row now, maybe, it feels like the 3 promoted sides feels like they're getting more and more detached as the years go on. But Ipswich don't look a bad side. Obviously, Leicester have got a new manager come in, so we don't know who that'll be and what impact that has. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them, or even Southampton. I didn't watch Southampton at all last season, but Russell Martin must have been able to get a tune out of them last season. So the idea that he's turned into a crap manager this season doesn't quite make sense. But it only needs one of them to just
run,
sustain what they're doing, get a run together, and if Everton come out of that run that you just mentioned, and they're in the bottom 3 at that point. If you're in the bottom 3 in February, March, it becomes a self-fulfilling thing, then, doesn't it? When even though you might not actually be one of the worst 3 teams, you just can't get yourself out of there. And yeah, and that Dyche's way of getting them there isn't going to be to try and score goals and win. You're not going to win 4 matches in a row. It's going to be trying to grind out 1 point a game, isn't it? And yeah, I think they'll probably just be all right. But I wouldn't be that surprised if one of those promoted sides gets themselves to 42 points or something, and Everton are the ones that go down. Because I think I can't see Wolves staying down there for that long. I think some of their players they've got far too
a major
good
difference
down there.
between Sean's team and Wolves is a player like Cunha.
Exactly,
games
yeah.
on his own, right?
exactly. But it's not just that, is it? O'Neill just try to win matches as well, doesn't he? I think that's more in his nature than Dyche. So yeah, I can't see Wolves staying down there. So you're probably only looking at Everton and the three promoted sides, aren't you? I think so. Yeah,
What
touch and
about your
go.
team, Gary? Is there ambition now in this season? I was asked during the break what should be Manchester United's ambition for the rest of this season. And I said qualify for the Champions League, purely because I think it's highly likely it will go to fifth, and therefore you've got to be in the group of teams that's got a chance.
Yeah, I think we've got two routes as well, haven't we? Because
Europa as well, yeah.
winning the Europa still gets you Champions League spot, doesn't it? I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I think that's got to be the ultimate aim. Sort of similar to the Mourinho's first season. Whichever way that comes, so if we won the Europa League but finished eighth,
You're fine with that.
and we were trying to embed this new system, you'd be like, that'd be an unbelievable season. And equally, if we didn't really have a cup run, embedded the system and finished fifth, that'd be an unbelievable. Not, I mean, it's not an unbelievable achievement, but it'd be an unbelievable season from where we are now. So I think, yeah, either one of those two things, really.
It's remarkable though when you look at the league table. You're 7 points behind second. Like it shouldn't be
Yeah.
anything's off the table at this stage, should it? Other than
No,
first.
I know, but I just can't see us clicking into gear quickly enough to reduce that gap. And obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but I think realistically, I think it might be the springtime before we really click into gear. And by then, there should be 3 or 4 or 5 teams who have, probably a bit
Yeah,
more
I think
cemented there.
fifth in terms of the league, fifth is probably the maximum you could expect realistically this season, which is kind of based on even what Amorim said himself at the weekend. Like, squad's not ready to kind of play this system, going to be bumps in
Yeah.
the road, but need to get our philosophy across. How do you see them, Sean? You see them likely to compete for Champions League place or not?
I don't I don't think they're quite going to be at that level, are they? I think the other teams are that bit more ahead. I think they'll probably miss out, but I think like Gary said it before, they put a manager in it. You got to believe in him and give him, the opportunity to improve, and it might mean going backwards, one step backwards to go 2 or 3 forward. But on paper, he looks like a good fit for them, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's a good appointment, Gary, and you're absolutely right. It's going to need some time. Sean, as obviously as the correspondent league head of the table from last season as our mini league winner, I presume you know who your game week 13 FPL captain will be.
Well, it was going to be Cole Palmer, but I'm getting a bit. I might just looking at Man City. I think it's hard to stay away from that little Egyptian lad at the minute, isn't it?
The overweight Egyptian lad, yeah, that's the one. I'm going to assume, Sean, you're not a Bruno Fernandes owner.
No, I'm not. No.
Would he be a consideration for you if you were?
Do you know what? He normally does well against Everton, but I can see it being quite a tight game. They've not been free scoring. Manchester United have they, and I think we'll give them the ball because we give everyone the ball. But if we play how we have been, we're not extremely easy to break down. So I don't know. I think there's better alternative options than Bruno.
Gary, would that be your read on those thinking of Bruno Fernandes captaincy this week?
Yeah, and you still don't quite know where he's going to play either, and because we all assume he'll be in one of the 2 10s behind the centre forward, but there's nothing to say that in these home games against bottom half opposition that he might decide to try and get him in the deeper 2 and try and get more attackers up the pitch, especially while he's trying to work out his system. So I think given that, and for what we've just said about Everton, I know they obviously lose quite a few matches. It's very rare that they get absolutely slapped, is it? So yeah, I think there's probably
Well, but we only slap teams. We don't actually beat anyone. We just batter them or lose.
No, but that's a rarity, isn't it? There won't be many times that Dyche has lost for.
And you a lot and all.
Yeah.
Why did you sack Ten Hag? It was so much more fun.
Yeah, so I don't think Fernandes is quite a captaincy option. And as well, I I think there's other midfielders who've got, I think if you've got Salah, he's obviously a captain option. I still think Palmer is, and I think Saka is as well if you've got him against West Ham, because West Ham are dreadful defensively as well. So
I'm going to
yeah,
guess nearly everybody would have at least one of them three.
I would have thought so. Yeah, so
Yeah. And you would say they're all better than Fernandes for captaincy this week.
I think so because all three of them, you know exactly where the teams, you know exactly where they're going to play. They're the teams are pretty much built around them. Well, not built around them, but you know as near as it can get to in the modern day. So yeah, and I think it sounds a bit odd to say about Man City, but I think all three of those teams are more liable to be on the end of a shellacking than Everton. I think Everton are probably more likely to lose than all three of those teams. But if you had to pick one of those teams to get a battering, I think Everton just seems nailed on sort of 2-0-ish type thing, doesn't it? Oh,
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, if you look
yeah,
ahead to game week 16, Sean, I'm sure you probably don't really particularly want to, or game week 15, sorry, when obviously the Merseyside derby is the lunchtime kickoff. I think on paper, Salah probably looks like the best captaincy that week as it stands at the moment. But he doesn't feel right. Captain an FPL player against your team, ironically, Sean, never feels particularly attractive.
No, no, like Gary's just. I mean, he's hit the nail on the head. Like every now and then we will throw in we'll get a spanking. But I mean, that happens to a lot of teams, don't it? But on the whole, with that captaincy, yeah, I don't think I'd be as negative I can be about Everton. I don't think I'd be recommending captain him against the last ever derby at home. And like I say, defensively, now we've sorted out being able to defend the cross into the box. We look pretty good. We look as good as there is, and we should because that's what the manager gears everything around in it, being defensively solid and just trying to nick a goal.
Yeah, so the alternatives though aren't so great that week. So like Saka's at Fulham, this kind of feels similar. Palmer's at Tottenham. I don't feel like great alternatives that week. Haaland's at Palace. I mean, probably Haaland is the best, but I guess many are going to probably be off by that point. So many will just revert, and there's going to be that many weeks now. It's just Captain Salah, but that I keep looking at that and think that's so unattractive. 12:30 last Merseyside derby. Don't really want to captain him in that.
Yeah,
I'd fancy it to be low scoring, and you just to be so wildly up for it, and you will be, wouldn't you, sure?
we should be. Yeah, we should be.
Okay, Gary, do you have Fernandez at the moment?
no, no,
Any plans?
no, probably not. I think he was one I wouldn't have minded trying to get to maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I think now, as soon as you bought him, you'd be probably looking else to shift him on elsewhere, wouldn't you? So, because after this Everton game, the fixtures don't look that great. But I don't think they're that bad for a while, but they're not great either, are they?
No, similarly, you look at Arsenal away 14, and despite wherever they're at the moment, Man City away 16, it's still
Yeah.
like an awful fixture. That's two of the next three after the Everton game. Has it passed the point where it's too late to invest now, do you think, for Fernandes?
Um, probably, yeah. I think so. I think the idea that you didn't buy him for Leicester and then you didn't buy him for Ipswich, but now you think I'll buy him for this run coming up that includes Arsenal away, City away. Is it Forest at home in the middle? Forest
Yeah.
I know they just conceded three, but Forest aren't a bad side defensively, are they? So yeah, I think probably now, if you haven't got, I think you probably skip it and then come back nearer Christmas maybe and see. By then you'll watch them for a month or two, and you might know where you are with them. Then you can come back. I think we probably missed the chance to get United players now.
Yeah, I think obviously that you've got them trips to Arsenal City coming up. You also go to Wolves, you also go to Anfield as well in game week 20. Then there's a nicer run starts again in game week 21. And it
Yeah,
probably
so
feels
that's
like
into the
that
new
now,
year
just
then, isn't
generally
it?
with
Yeah,
United assets, doesn't it?
I think so.
Revisit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because the Liverpool game's first week in January, isn't it? So you're probably looking into the new year now, really. Um, I mean, I suppose it's one. I suppose if people built up 5 transfers into this week, maybe, and you're looking, obviously you've got to start using them. But maybe a hop on and hop off of Fernandez this week isn't the worst idea. But I think I think most people haven't. saved up transfers still.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
if you,
if you were hopping off though, you're probably looking to do it from something like Bumo, and it feels like they've got Leicester at home this week. It's like I
yeah,
don't want to do that. So
yeah, yeah.
if his shit run was starting now, you'd go, yeah, okay, maybe 1 week in and then jump on. I can't really
Mm.
see that the fixtures this week detail that people would want to do that for a week. What about holding longer term though, Gary? People be more kind of thinking about that, won't they? I think naturally once you get beyond the Everton game, you see Arsenal away, and the temptation will be there to look at something else, won't it?
Yeah, I think in that midfield category, it seems to be the thing every year now is that there's just so many options at every price point that I think I think you're probably always looking. So I mean, if you end up holding on to Fernandes, it's not the end of the world because you know he's going to play every week. You might not know where at the minute, but he'll be playing every week, even around Christmas when he gets congested. So I think if you've got Fernandes and you've got Onana, I think you can keep. I think everyone else, I think you've got to start looking at coming off after this week because they're just you don't know where any of them are going to play. A lot of them have been asked to play in positions that we've never seen them play before. So um, yeah, they could become a problem really quickly, and that's not what you need over Christmas, is it? With so many fixtures and rotation and
So, like,
the rest of
actually,
it.
I'm on Garnacho, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, a
I
bit
am.
surprised with what his minutes were on Sunday. Actually, a bit better than what
Mm.
I'd expected. What's your thought process with him at the moment if you own him?
Well, I've got him, so I won't be selling before this weekend.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I'll be looking to get shot after that because I don't think his skill set at the minute. He's a young lad. I don't think his skill set at the minute suits him at that number 10 role. Um, it could easily just be he comes out the team for a few weeks and Xerxes plays there or Mason Mount comes in and plays there. I just and I think there's so many options, there's so many other things you can do. Even a Semenyo or I don't know Rogers. There's loads of things you can do to come free up a load of money and things like that. So I'm looking to come off him one way or the other. And I think because he's sort of 6.5ish, I think he's too expensive to be. Not like last season when you could bench him a lot more because you felt, oh, he's only 5 million, I can bench him. You can't be benching him at that kind of money. So I think I'll be looking to come off.
No,
Um,
but one way to sell might be to reinvest within the same club because you could certainly bench Amo Diallo every week, couldn't you?
yeah, but again, you don't know. He was all right yesterday, but he could easily try and if he wants to play wing back, certainly in the short term, the most obvious solution would be to play Shaw and Dalot, wouldn't it? Get Shaw on the left hand side and move Dalot to the right, or even play Mazraoui because Amorim had said prior to this weekend it was easier to play defenders at wing back than it is attackers when you're trying to embed the system. So you can buy Ahmad at 5, but um,
It's
yeah, you
4.9. It's
can,
just if you're going down into
yeah,
that bracket, I mean, players that say under 5 that have scored more points than Diallo this season. Bear in mind he missed a few games because of injury as well. Yanel, João Gomez, Moises Caicedo. You're not buying
mm,
any of them, are you?
no, but but I mean, I suppose you're only really buying anyone at that level probably to achieve something else with it, aren't you? So if it's you want to go down to that 4.9 so that you can get, I don't know, Mbumo to Saka or whatever we're saying, then obviously at that point it makes sense. But I think in a transfer in its own right, I don't think at the minute you need to be rushing to get
No, no,
Diallo
no.
because
But
I
I
think
think it
it can
if you're
easily come out
gonna
that team.
everyone's going to have three up front, aren't they? They're kind of at the moment with
Mm,
the way the forwards
yeah,
are. So I spoke about this with Tyler Diblin. It's like he's still the one down there, even though Southampton are pony, that he could be something in a couple of months' time.
yeah.
Diallo could be that, couldn't he? That's the point here.
I suppose it could be, yeah, but like I said, just be wary that he could easily come out the team for a Dallo or
I
a
think he'd be
Mazraoui.
going in
And
as eighth attacker if people are going there. I think.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and like I say, and to free up money for something else as well.
What would be your advice to those who've gone Dallo then?
Well, I think if you've already got him, I think you keep him, don't you? Because like I say, he could end up playing right wing back. We've kept a decent amount of clean sheets this season, haven't we? So if you've got him, I think you're not rushing to get rid of him because why would you? There's still the odd fix. Even that Forest game at home, you could play him in that, couldn't you? So yeah, I won't be rushing to sell Dallo, but yeah, I won't be rushing to buy him either.
If you had to buy a United defensive asset now, say you were on wildcard, including the goalkeeper, where would your money go?
Probably on the goalkeeper. Yeah, he's going to play. Has he got the most clean sheets in the league this season?
He might do. He's close to.
Yeah, he's always liable for a good set of save points as well. So if we do
top scoring goalkeeper in the game, mate.
yeah, they are. So and he's one of them who can score points in quite a few different ways, which is weird, isn't it? Because the games we don't keep a clean sheet, he's always going to get you a save point or two, and then the ones where we do keep one, he's going to start creeping towards, 9, 10, 11 pointers and things like that. So if I had to go one, yeah, probably Onana.
Okay. You know the second highest scoring goalkeeper is, don't you, Sean?
I do, yeah. That's how you should have branded this whole podcast. It should have just been Pickford and Onana, and then
well, no, actually, the answer's Matt Sells actually, but Jordan Pickford is level on points with Matt Sells. Jordan Pickford has kept 3 clean sheets this season. Sean got 32 points in those 3 clean sheets. Admittedly, one includes obviously a penalty save, but when you do keep a clean sheet, and because of some of the opponents you've got coming up, he is liable to haul here, isn't he? A little bit.
Yeah, is it not 4?
Well, have you kept? Oh, you're right. You have kept 4. Sorry, I forgot about Ipswich. Easy done. That's not so good now, is it? 38 from 4. I'll still take that, mate. 9.5 points per game for a goalkeeper when he keeps it clean. Yes, please.
Yeah.
It's always been 2 or less for the remaining fixtures, though. But yeah, like if you went to Old Trafford and you won 1-0 at the weekend, you're expecting Pickford to get sort of 9 or 10, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
So is he someone you can hold on to during these fixtures, or is it move for you?
I think you've got to move, haven't you? You can't forecast clean sheets there. I mean, you'd have to just like bit of blind faith and just back Dyche's style of play. But yeah,
we're also saying during this run that Sean Dyche is probably going to be removed at some point, is what you're saying, right?
I think there's a very, very good chance, just listening to the noise about what's going on, I mean, I was sat in the Park End against Brentford and I honestly didn't hear one positive comment from anyone about the team or Dyche. Everything on social media, people have had enough of him. And just reading what the Friedkin Group have been like at Roma. I mean, they bombed out one of their all-time best players when he was manager because results so they're not going to bat an eyelid about getting rid of Sean Dyche, and they might even see it as an opportunity to just get a bit of favour with the fans, a bit more favour with the fans early on.
I can so see Jose Mourinho managing your club, you know
that. No, because see, that's the thing. Like I distinctly remember listening to you. I remember listening to you and oh God, they'd just be. Well, how would it be any different to now? Bar a bit of entertainment, in his press conferences.
I suspect that the 3 of us could probably do another Mourinho podcast separately, so I won't get into that right now. Calvert-Lewin owners, Sean, stop laughing. Have they got to sell here now?
Yeah, they should have sold when I did, but if you've got him, you've just got to move him on, yeah.
Okay, Dwight McNeil.
Just because of fixtures, yeah. I think Dwight McNeil has been like probably the only good, well, obviously Pickford, but the only good outfield sort of option that we've got. He's been doing really well. He's outperformed a lot of very expensive fantasy options. And when you consider that we can hardly score any goals, imagine if we did start scoring some.
Well, this is it. His goal involvement's pretty high for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's just looking now 9th on the list of highest scorers for FPL midfielders. That is not bad at all, actually. But he's also had better fixtures than many others, and we know what's coming for you. Now, Mikolenko owners, I guess that's kind of depends how you are because you could bench him at his value, right?
yeah. I've actually I got him. Um, so I think again because the fixtures, I'd ideally move him on, but the reality is I'll have other transfers to do, so I'll probably end up keeping him.
Yeah, understood. Gary, any Everton in your squad?
No, none at all. Although somehow I've ended up with both Calvert-Lewin and Dyche in my draft team, so that's my only Everton involvement.
Okay, mate. Is Fernandes your only United player, or is it, Gary?
Garnacho is my only United player.
Oh,
Sorry, yeah,
sorry, Garnacho.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and you're
yeah.
saying you're thinking of moving him on soon. Okay, Sean, any United for you in your squad?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I was going to get a Nana at the start of the season and ended up stupidly going for Flacking. So it pains me to see how many points Nana's got.
Well, at least you got a
I
clean
did,
sheet. At least you got a clean sheet at the weekend, Sean.
yeah, it was a set. It come against us, wasn't it? That's why. That's why I kept him.
There you go. All you Mark Flecken owners, that's the only reason why, because Sean is an Everton fan and Sean owns him. That's the only reason why.
Correct.
Uh, Before we finish, Gary, this one's specific for you. On what do you envisage as, fast forward a month, what do you think Amorim's strongest team will look like?
Oh, fuck knows.
Anana in goal, back three.
Onana in goal. So then the back three will be Martinez, Dyche. God knows,
You all
Maguire.
right?
Oh, Euro, if Euro's fit, yeah, Euro. And then I think Dallow and Shaw will be his preferred wing backs just because of their skill sets. And then you are guessing then. I think Fernandes, obviously. Uh, Menu, Ugarte, Fernandes. Can't think who'll play up front for him. I can't work that out at all. Probably Hoyland. I
And then
can't
one
think
of
who else.
Rashford, Garnacho, or
Yeah,
Diallo.
and someone else. Yeah, them
I mean,
rotating in that
it's
10. But
absolutely
it
remarkable that we've
doesn't
gone through
suit.
this podcast. Marcus Rashford played OOP at the weekend, scored, and we still don't
Mm.
want to talk about him.
Yeah, but he was dreadful, wasn't
I mean, I can't remember touching the ball again afterwards, barely,
he?
mate.
Yeah, yeah. He's not. Look, he's probably one of those players who would probably benefited from some real coaching throughout his career. Because I think we've churned through managers so much, so I don't think it's all down to him. But he's never, even in the when did he make his debut? Now 2016, I guess. So it's nearly 10 years now. Every time he plays through the middle, he struggles. He's admitted himself he doesn't like playing there. So unless Amorim can get something into him or has got something up his sleeve, which he might well do, because we've just said how good a manager he looks. I just don't think Rashford can play there. Look, he scored yesterday. You know, he's done well to get across the near post and nudge it in. But some of his other play otherwise, and there was times when he was sitting short on the halfway line for it, and they were putting balls through, and then vice versa. I just can't see how he turns Rashford into a centre forward this late. I mean, I don't know how old is Rashford now. He must be 27, 28, is he? I just can't see it. But, and look, the other thing is if he does that, then you've got Hoyland and Xerxes out there at whatever they cost, between 150 million. You've got no use at all for them then, because none of them are going to play any deeper than the centre forward position. So I'd be surprised if Rashford. Maybe look, if you're on him for whatever reason, you're not going to sell it. You take the goal yesterday and you keep him for Everton. But yeah, he's one of them. He could equally be out the team for 3 or 4
What if,
weeks in a row.
just thinking just quickly, there will be some who've taken a punt on Hoyland for these three.
Mm.
And you're looking at like Cunha and João Pedro going off and stuff. What do you do if you're a Hoyland owner and not got those type of players? Do you just keep for Everton and keep your fingers crossed, or do you sell it now?
Well, I think you see what team we play on Thursday. I think if Hoyland plays on Thursday,
So
I think you get him in the bin and get João Pedro in and get 2 million back in your back pocket and go from there. Yeah.
good stuff. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's do predictions before we finish. Go on, Gary.
I'll say, I'll say 1-0 United.
Oh, blimey. Sean?
Yeah, I think it'll probably be 2-0 United. Something like
Yeah, 1-2-0 feels about right. Yeah, I visualize it being low scoring actually. Okie dokie. Thank you both very much. Gary, anything you want to plug before we finish?
No, no, thank you.
Good stuff. And yourself, Sean?
that. Just me Twitter, Spirit_Blues, and I'm on a Blue Sky now, so it's just Spirit Blues without the underscore.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Clayton be with me tomorrow for the Clayton and James show, included a look back at the Monday night football between Newcastle and West Ham United. I can tell you there will be 2 Clash of Correspondents for you next week. Next Tuesday, ahead of the game week 14 deadline, will be Bournemouth versus Tottenham with Neil Grover and Ricky Saunders. And then next Thursday, ahead of game week 15, Lewis James and Adam Pritchard previewing Fulham against Arsenal. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Gary and Sean. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man child.